All right, class, I just handed you the definitions. We had the slideshow where we talked about the presidency of President Nixon. And we're gonna do a project, a flip page assignment. Let me hand out the blank flip pages. We're going to do this flip page assignment about the presidency of Richard Nixon. En yo tengo las instrucciones para ustedes en español. En un momento yo voy a leer con ustedes. All right. Does anybody have any questions so far from the slideshow? All right. First, I want to go over this for our English-speaking friends. I've got an example here I'm going to share with you. I'll even pass it around in a few minutes. I'm going to let you guys look at this closer in a minute, but I'm going to show everyone up front. I'll pass this around in a few minutes to show you can take a look at it directly. So let me go over the instructions. You've got your 4 pages on your flip page, right? This top part here is page 1. So I've got instructions. I've got them on the board behind me and I've got them over here. This shows a drawing of the page with the tabs below, if that helps you kind of understand. So on the top part, this first page, you're going to have a title. President Richard M. Nixon, 1968 to 1974. And then you're going to have a little subtitle that says New Conservatism. And you're going to have 3 bullet points. You're going to explain that Nixon wanted to reduce the power of the federal government, to return that power back to the states. And you want to have the second one explain he wanted to have law and order to reduce crime. And the third one, he had this Southern strategy for his re-election. And that's to appeal to Southern voters, including Democrats that were unhappy with policies of big government of the left. And were opposed to the counterculture. So you're going to have all that on the front. And you also want to use, like in my example, which I'll show you closer in a minute, you want to have colors on here, at least 3 colors. And I draw little pictures, like some people drew a picture of, when we talk about China, some people drew a picture of Nixon in China. And if you're not a great artist, that's okay. Some people will get their Chromebook and they'll find a picture and they'll trace it. That's pretty good. I'm not a great artist. Okay, so that's the first page right here. So then we're going to flip over 1. And now we're looking at this second, fold it up, this is the second page. So this drawing shows the top of the page and the bottom of the page. Here's the top, this is the bottom. So on page 2, you're gonna have a title at the top that says Foreign Policy, Cold War Changes, that's the title. And then you're gonna have 4 pieces of information. You can use 1, 2, 3, 4, or you can use A, B, C, D. But the first one, you're gonna write realpolitik. And you're gonna find a definition. I gave you guys a sheet that's got some information on it. If you wanna Google different answers to explain that, you can. We talked about that in the slideshow. The second one is détente. You know, I forgot there's a tilde, an accent over the E, détente. And again, all these you're gonna write your own, maybe 8 or 9 word sentence to explain this. And number 3 is gonna be get Vietnam Treaty for ending the Vietnam War. You wanna include the date for that. And the last one, Nixon goes to China and put the date on that. So that's going to be for page 2. You flip that over. You're going to have this page 3. So at the top, you're going to have it say Nixon re-elected as your title. And then you're going to have 1, 2, 3. So 1's going to be 1 wins in a landslide. You can put like he won 96% of the vote. Number 2, he was supported by the silent majority, and explain the silent majority. You know, you can find your own definition, but those are the people that were not protesting. They were out going to work and participate in their community. They were just felt ignored, and the media didn't really talk about them. And then the number 3, you're going to have new federalism. And that's where he wanted to return power back to the states. And you want to save a space towards the bottom of that, because you're going to put a picture, like maybe a graph or a map that showed the outcome of that election in 1968. And the last page 4, you're gonna flip here, the last one, and you're gonna have a title that says government programs at the top on this first tab, and you're gonna write the first one EPA, the second one OSHA, and the third one DEA, and just explain what those are. Those are new federal agencies that still exist today. The EPA is the Environmental Protection Agency. So look up the definition for all 3 of those, you'll put those at the top half. At the bottom part, this is the last part, you're gonna explain what happens with Watergate. So you're gonna have a title here that says Watergate Scandal. So on the bottom part of page 4, you're gonna top say Watergate Scandal, and then you're gonna explain that the break-in happened connected to Nixon, and then there's an impeachment hearing, and then Nixon resigns, and I wanna have the date that Nixon resigns. Do you guys have any questions? If you have any more in a minute, that's cool, you probably will. I'm gonna go over the instructions with Ana and Prado in Spanish just a moment. I would suggest maybe, I think your college is already doing this, work it out first in pencil, and that way if you wanna change something, you can erase it and go back. And then you go back later at the end and add the color, okay? Let me move on and explain these instructions to Ana. Okay, ustedes. In a moment, I'm gonna come around and check on you, I'll make sure that you're making good progress, make sure you don't have any questions. Okay, las instrucciones en este tarea de clase necesita usan 3 o 4 color para decorar, también hacer dibujos, porque tú eres un artista, ¿verdad? Pasa a la página 2, en la parte superior, escribe en título que diga político, exterior, cambios en la Guerra Fría. And that is here. Llega la continuación, escribe en una lista A, firmó los acuerdos de paz de 1973 para poner fin a la guerra de Vietnam. B, disminución de las tensiones entre Estados Unidos y China y Rusia. Y C, tratado de armas, identificación de SAL. D, Nixon viaja a China. Enlace importante de las China, por ejemplo, su teléfono hecho en China, yo creo. Muchas de las cosas hoy hacen en China. En base a las páginas siguiente, la parte superior escriba un título que diga Presidente Nixon reelijo en 1972. Luego escribo una lista A, gano por una abrumadora mayoría del 96% de las votos. B, conto con el apoyo de la mayoría silenciosa. En inglés se dice the silent majority. Y C, nuevo federalismo. Nixon quiere devolver el poder de los estados. Al final, esta página 4, coloqué un gráfico o mapa que muestra los votos de Nixon en comparación con de los Humphrey. Pasa a la última página, en la parte superior escriba un título de diga nuevos programas gubernamentales. A continuación encontrará una lista A, EPA, y explica. B, OSHA, en inglés se dice OSHA. ¿Entiende cuál es un acronym en inglés? Explica las OSHA y la C, D, E, A, explica esto. En la parte inferior de las páginas escribe una título: Escándalo Watergate, y implique como un elemento la oficina del Partido Demócrata en Washington D.C. de relación con Nixon, lo que tuvo juicio político por parte del Congreso y la renuncia de Nixon en 1974. ¿Hay preguntas?
¿Lo hacemos en inglés o en español?
Si te gusta escrito en español, está bien. Pero aparte de su profesora, piensa que tú aprendes más que escrito en inglés. ¿Quiere comprar dos? ¿Quiere hacer los dos? ¿Un inglés y un español? Escrito en español, porque los otros dos es escrito en inglés. Okay, I'm going to come around and check and make sure that we're making some good progress. Oh, I forgot, class, on the back side of your pages, put your first and last name on the back, on the upper right and the back, and por atrás de las páginas, imprimimos su firma. What you got on the first page, it looks like you're making some good progress. That's a really good idea, to start it with a pencil and come back later. So that you can do that if you change your mind. I had some people last hour that actually didn't listen to the instructions, and when I was explaining it, they like said, "Can I have another blank one, Mr. Moore?" Because they didn't do it in pencil. Let's get started with pencil, and you can come back later at colors. And just to repeat that vocab list that I gave you all, you can use this if you need to, but some of the answers are really brief. You may need to have a little more information, but this explains the silent majority term used by President Nixon to describe Americans who oppose the counterculture. But the silent majority weren't just Republicans, they were Democrats and Republicans. It explains the new federalism. It explains realpolitik. Except it's a brief explanation of realpolitik. Realpolitik really means to have a foreign policy that is practical, in that you don't want to just say you're my enemy. It says you might be my enemy, but if you're not a very big threat to me, I don't need to spend a lot of money on fighting you. Or I might fight you in a different way. I might just say some words. I might not do anything that costs very much money, and certainly try to avoid losing lives. Anna has a good idea. If you guys need to take a picture of these instructions on either side, you certainly can do that. A lot of people from last hour did that. I want to get a closer look at what you're working on there, Tal. That looks good, Tom. That looks good. That looks good. So the reason I want you to look up these answers more than just what's on this vocab sheet is because if I tell you what something means, you're less likely to remember it. If you're looking up more information about it and you're writing it down in this activity, you're more likely to remember that and store it in your brain. And this activity, to do this with the markers and colors, is hopefully more fun than writing an essay or doing a quiz maybe. Does anybody have any questions?
Porque